Last time I started rehabbing this vintage Soviet Union era bass guitar that I got my hands on, and this week we're going to finish it. Stay tuned for the end, and I'm going to give you the information on the auction and how you can potentially own it, and help out a charity while you're at it. So for a few months now in the background, I've been working on designing my own hardware for my builds with a little bit of help from sendcutsend.com, where I get all of these parts cut out. And this bass was the perfect bass for me to start trying out one of my bass bridge designs. What I wanted to do was sort of incorporate some other types of bass bridge designs that I've seen and sort of merge them together into something that's pretty simple, easy to make here in the USA, using kind of readily available hardware and some basic cuts. And that's what I did. So this one I designed to the specific string spacing. It's not the most attractive thing in the world. I'm going to have future videos about this and some of the developments I've made since making this that I'll be sharing with you soon. But so this was my first attempt. I went and I drew this stuff up on the computer, had SendCutSend cut it out for me and ship it to me. And then I went and just kind of started to put it together and already saw some flaws in the design that I had to edit by hand. The design focuses around modifying a brass screw that you can set up and down for intonation, or for string height rather, and then for intonation it just slides back and forth on these other screws. But they kind of spin and flip around because there's just one screw holding it, and also those brass parts are a little bit too tall because they can't recess into the metal body. And so the next thing I did is I cut slots into the metal body to make the brass screws go down a little bit, which would help limit some of the erroneous side-to-side movement that I'm trying to avoid. And these are all things I'm going to sort of design better on future models. But so for this one, since it's already cut, I resorted to making a little template on my laser from a piece of wood and just literally drilling out these slots by hand and using a file to make it work. So it's not pretty underneath, but you can't really see it when it's put together. I cannot stress this strongly enough. Everyone should have a chisel that they're not afraid to use on aluminum. This is not the chisel I'd use on wood, but everybody should have a beater chisel. It comes in handy and is so much fun. So after filing out these holes enough to fit the brass screw that's going to be my string holder, or my saddle, I guess you call it, in, I put it all together, and then I use my nut files to just slightly widen the top of these brass screws so the string will sit nicely on it, but it still has a slot, so you can use a flathead screwdriver to get in there and adjust the height. But then the whole bridge itself is going to go on posts into the body like a Gibson-style bridge. So really just those brass screws are just for micro adjustments. I put it on the guitar and lined it up, and for now I'm just using the typical sort of post that would be installed on a Les Paul. I happen to have a whole bunch of them, and drilled those out. And so now I can set my basic string height there, and then I can fine-tune depending upon the radius of the instruments and whatnot with those brass screws to get the best action possible on every string, which is something that the Tune-o-matics can't do. I'm just noticing now as I'm checking my angles that the pickup is actually higher than the fingerboard. I think that one is 2. So even if I swap them, I would have that problem. So I'll take my little square L and check the measurement there. So actually this one's just a little bit higher, but because this magnet sticks out, but I don't think that one would work there anyways. Yeah, that one's still too high. So I'm just gonna have to shim this neck and get it up at an angle. So this is one of the things that's common with these Soviet era instruments. Like I had to really, everything's kind of just a little bit wrong, So I had to really shim the neck quite a bit to get it to clear these pickups, and then the bridge I built has to be up pretty high to clear it also, which I kind of expected. And now I think I'll be able to string this up and make it play. The other thing is like these pickups aren't lined up. Like this one's a little crooked, and everything's always just a little off. But you know, I don't know. It's kind of part of the charm of it too, is seeing if we can make it work. But so now I have this. I have to, you know, fix the nut. I have this looking like it's gonna be able to clear the pickups and be playable. I could put the this is the string retaining piece that came with it, which I could put on. It's missing its cover or whatever. Or we could do something stupid. Let's do something stupid. I made a video a little while back showing how I modify just sort of standard issue Bigsby's to hold bass strings. You can't just use them the way they are, but those little tabs that are designed to hold the guitar strings are sometimes not strong enough, and so there's a link on the screen here. You can go check out this video and figure out what I did. The plastic nut that someone has put on there was partially fitted, but like they did it wrong. The guitar never would have been in tune because it wasn't utilizing the 0 fret, but I lowered it and made it work. So check this out. This is kind of fun. Right now I'm just plugged into my cruddy little like workbench amp, but I had these wired to have separate on-off switches. And first I was getting some weird stuff where like the A string wasn't really sounding good, and it was because one of these magnets, there were kind of two broken pieces in here. One was flipped upside down, so it was creating some kind of weird phase issue. And so then I fixed that, and now I have, that's the front pickup, and it actually doesn't sound now, but it actually sounds pretty good. Then the rear pickup, it's very, very quiet, and it's partly because it's so far away from the strings and God only knows what else. So I was thinking about building a riser for it, and then I had this idea that I could just take this neodymium magnet, put it right on there, just put the cover right over it, and now the volumes kind of match. That's both of them. And I think that's going to solve it. Just giving it a little bit more magnetic pull and a little bit of height to help it kind of get a little bit closer to the neck pickup. There we go. The cover doesn't quite go all the way down, of course, because of that extra magnet in there, but I kind of bubbled this out a little bit, and it looks pretty good. That'll work. I love messing around with all the oddballs and the misfits from our musical instrument past, and of course the Soviet Union era instruments are a favorite one for me to play with. I've done some in the past, and I have some other videos, including some great discussions in the comments on my channel that you might want to go check out. There'll be, links at the end and in the description and stuff. This particular bass actually sounds pretty good. It plays pretty good. I mean, it's typical of these instruments. Like, it's all like working and functioning, but it's of course not as nice as, a modern or instrument that was not made, behind the Iron Curtain in the 70s or 80s or whatever. But it works, and there's certain types of musicians out there, myself included, that kind of like enjoy playing instruments like this and putting up with the idiosyncrasies to get the look and the sound and the feel to be a little bit different than everybody else out there. And this is a great bass for that. Thought I'd add the whammy bar on it to really seal the deal. So what am I going to do with this bass? I decided to donate my time on this to a Ukrainian relief effort, which just seems like the most appropriate place for anything, any sort of charitable auction for this. So what I did is I put this bass up for auction over on eBay. The auction ends whatever the screen says right here. There's a link in the description and on eBay. I'll pick a charity. I haven't picked one yet, but the links will be in both the listing and in the description of where the money will go to. So basically I'm going to list it with the starting price being what I financially have into it, and then anything over that is going to be my time getting donated to this relief fund. So sounds like a fun way to go. That way someone can get this for maybe a good deal, or maybe we'll raise a ton of money and do a lot of good somewhere in the world. Either way, that's what's happening. Thanks for watching.